Absolutely right, Bali. Now, being homeless is something that one doesn't prepare for. The homeless are a vulnerable population in many respects. And those experiencing homelessness not only experience personal and economic hardship, they also frequently face discrimination and exclusion because of their housing status. Danny Diliberto and Richard Boerland are in the loft today to give insight on the work that they do to help the impoverished and how we as a society can be better aware and help to alleviate homelessness. Welcome to the loft. Lovely to have you with us, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Tell me about your organizations and how you as an individual were drawn to this work.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Well, I started 4.5 years ago. I was at a breathing and meditation course, and we were being taught about a Sanskrit word, seva, meaning giving of yourself, wanting nothing in return. And that very much touched me. And on that particular day, we had to go out into the streets and give the homeless people a cup of tea. That was part of our seva for the day. So I arranged a pot of soup, and instead we went out and served little cups of soup. And I remember walking along Long Street, and there was a certain individual. He was under the influence of alcohol, behaving, I don't know, shouting and screaming at another individual. And as I walked up to him, it was as if the homelessness just disappeared. And he looked at me, and I offered him a cup of soup, and he said, yes, please. And I gave him the soup, and he thanked me very politely, as a conversation like we're having right now. And as I walked away, the homelessness returned, and he went back to his shouting and screaming. And it was a very powerful moment for me, and I thought if a cup of soup can restore a human being's dignity just for those few minutes, seconds, then this is what I need to do. And being in the restaurant business, it was easy. Never look back.
Wow. Beautiful story. And yourself?
We started in 2010. It was the height of the World Cup, and a friend of mine was driving home and saw a lady on the side of the road who was looking pretty down and out. And he stopped and spoke to her, invited her to church the next day, and from there we met her and a group of her friends, and we thought, why not, let's share a meal together on a Tuesday night. And we did that for about a year, and we started 2 groups doing that. And we met a few gentlemen that were sleeping in a park, and we thought, this isn't right. And we phoned various shelters around, found some space in one of the shelters for these 4 guys to go. And we said, well, we've become such good friends with them now, like we can't just leave them in the shelter. We want to find out how they're doing. We want to see what they get up to. And so we met with them once a week as well. And from there it grew, and we found ourselves in 2 shelters, 2 different teams. And then we realized that substance abuse was a big thing. And we wanted to help more, and we started approaching rehabs and finding out their admission criteria and how to get people into rehab. And that essentially birthed our organization as a 3-point structure in terms of finding and meeting people on the street, walking with them on a journey into shelters, and walking with them on a journey into rehab.
Yeah. That's amazing work. And I mean, as a society, often we look at homeless people and we immediately think, well, all they're lacking is a place to stay. But that's not all. There's so many, it's like a web. It's an intricate web of just social trauma. What are some of the issues that you find homeless people are struggling with, and even when they've received help, are the things that hold them back and keep them back onto the streets?
Well, I went homeless for 48 hours recently as part of a challenge to raise funds for my organization, but also to create awareness with the public about the complexities of homelessness. And you're dealing with abuse, you're dealing with alcoholics, drug addiction, people running away from gangsterism.
Mental illness.
Mental illness is a big one. And you know, what I've also learned with homelessness is they lose a community, so they don't really belong anywhere. And that is a big one with homelessness. And so it is very complex. Just saying to a homeless guy, just get up and go and get a job, that's not going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah, and the longer you're on the street, the harder it is to leave. And the street becomes your life, becomes your community. And so it's to us, it doesn't seem safe, but to guys that have been living on the street for 10 years, the street is safe for them. It's what they know. Suddenly being in a shelter under rules, under curfews, it's not good for them. You know, they don't. It's difficult, and so often people struggle in shelters and in rehabs, and that's reality.
Yeah. How can we as a society just become more aware when we meet a homeless person or walk past a homeless person? How can we sensitize ourselves to what we could do in that moment, their needs?
It's, you know, it depends what is happening at that moment. I don't think money is a good idea. You know, if they come to you and they give you the story, I need to get my ID, you could possibly go with them and buy the ID for them. It's 140 Rand. You could assist them with that. They might give you that they need a train ticket to go home. You go and get the train ticket with them. You know, don't give them the money. Clothing helps. The one day I was driving and I saw a homeless guy washing someone's car outside his house, giving them food, listening to them, just having a conversation with them. Once they start talking, they don't stop, because no one talks to them.
Well, no one
recognizes them.
sees their humanity anymore.
And you know, the minute we realize that homelessness is a part of society and it's not going away, we need to make it better. And that's what, if we have that attitude, how can we make it better? It will become better. We need to start thinking out the box. Corporations need to start getting involved in making our society better.
Yeah.
You know, we need to put money into it to create more rehabilitation centers, to create maybe more shelters, creating safe spaces where they can sleep, as the city of Cape Town's trying to do right now. You know, I was speaking to a homeless guy. He's not really homeless anymore. The newspapers got hold of him and he's created a blog on the newspapers. And I was chatting to him and he said a place where they can wash their clothes, a place where they can store their important items. So we need to create, and the challenge with Cape Town is because property is so prime, and then where's the toilets at night?
Yeah.
They don't have toilets at night.
Yeah. There's so much to think about, and we're going to chat to you guys a little bit later on in the show. But thank you so much for the work that you're doing.